Hello and welcome back to another video, and today this is a video I didn't want to make this week. I actually had a completely different idea for a video and a different thing in the pipeline, but too many things have come out this week regarding Halo Infinite, and for that reason I had to make a video on Halo Infinite and what's going on with this game. So as you can see from the picture, Halo Infinite has become a gigantic mess in 2020. I might argue it is the biggest mess of 2020 at this point. This was a game that was supposed to launch with the new series of Xbox consoles, the Series X and the Series S, and is no longer coming out until sometime next year. And I'd argue after the latest debacle, might not be coming out next year either. The main reason why I decided to make this video, there are two major things that came out with this game this week. One of them is the potential for monetization with color skins, which we'll talk about in a minute. The other is that for the second time, this game has lost its creative director, and that's what made me make this video. So the most recent creative director, Chris Lee, has stepped away from the project. Yet what's weird about this is he's still working at Microsoft. He's just exploring different opportunities. It just seems really weird. I almost wonder if somebody higher up at Microsoft went in to look on the project and said, you know what, we need to go in a different direction, and got rid of him. It just seems extremely weird for a game that basically needs to be rebooted at this point for this guy to walk away from the project, unless he took a step back and said, you know what, I can't do it. I can't deliver this game. Before we dive further, it's important to note that I'm a massive Halo fan. I love this franchise to death. It's a franchise that has faltered in recent years, and I won't lie about it. I won't make apologies or excuses for it. Halo 5 was a bad game. And Halo Infinite is supposed to be the game that kind of puts it back in the correct direction. It doesn't seem like they're doing that right now. You know, this is a game that they were working on for 3 years until they decided to finally look at all the feedback from Halo 5 and say, man, when people sit down and play a Halo-centered game, a numbered Halo entry, they want to play as Master Chief, not some other shitty character. And it sounds to me, from just a little bit of research that I've done, that this decision was made sometime in 2018. So for 3 years, this team created something that maybe one day we'll see it come out on like Unseen64.com or something, but it seems like the Halo Infinite that we know of today has only really been worked on for about 2 years. Then you have this past, I don't want to say E3 because it wasn't E3, but this past July's reveal, supposedly the big reveal of Halo Infinite that was supposed to make people line up to buy a Series X. And for a lot of people, it was a dud. Now, at this point in the story, I will tell you that everything I saw from that trailer I really liked. Yes, was the lighting in the game questionable? Certainly. But everything else about it looked great and exactly what I want from a Halo game. A Master Chief-centered story exploring a massive Halo ring. And if that game is exploring the entirety of that Halo ring, that's really cool and really awesome. And I'm always going to be more interested in Halo's campaign first than I am in the multiplayer second, which we're going to get to multiplayer in a moment here. But in terms of a story direction, Halo Infinite seems like it's on the right path. It's going to star Master Chief, and they've said you're not going to play as a different character, you're going to play as Master Chief. That's what I want out of this story. And if they want to go back and kind of retool and reboot it a little bit, that's fine. Not rebooting Halo completely, but rebooting the current storyline we're on. I should clarify that. And that's fine. I have no problem with that. Everything there, besides like the lighting and some of the graphics, which looked a little bit questionable, I thought the direction was good. And then we didn't hear much about it other than, you know, the internet took off hating this game, and they had to come out and say, well, yeah, people didn't really like what they saw, so now we're delaying it to 2021. But they didn't give a firm date for 2021 on when the game's actually going to come out. And that's part of the issue. My theory is that the game will be a November 2021 release because they want to hit that 20th anniversary for the original Halo, and I think that's the perfect time to release the game. However, then you have other things coming out. Now all of a sudden, the multiplayer component of this game is going to be completely free to play, which some people are really happy about. Other people really hate that idea. And one of the things coming out now that really causes concern for that is the idea of monetizing shaders into the game. So if you played an old Halo game, you can change your Spartan's color very easily. Usually they're very basic patterns. They've kind of gotten a little more elaborate over the years, but the point of this was you never had to pay for these. And going to a shader system kind of like Destiny is not really the best idea, but you can already see the slope here of, well, it's all in the game, but you can pay for it now or grind out. And I think where a lot of the concern comes from is looking at, and you want a really good roadmap to where they could go with this, and that is look at Gears 5 last year. Gears 5 is, I think, the travesty of this generation. They took a franchise that had nowhere but up to go after its fourth entry, and they just completely shit on it. And it's a bummer because I went in so hyped and so pumped for Gears 5, and I never even finished the campaign because of all the glitches and internet issues and connection issues that game had. But one of the big things about that game and why it has such a downfall, and I did a video on this and I'll link it here that you can check it out, but one of the biggest issues with that game was the way it was monetized. This is a game that was sold for $60, or if you have Game Pass, you pay the $10, you're able to play it, and they still monetized all that stuff. And what they did to make it extra shitty is they cut and pulled content from the game and then would package it up like it's a battle pass, which is the popular thing for a lot of online multiplayer games right now. And they would give you two ways to do it. Either pay the money to get this content, or you have to grind out. And when I say grind out, I mean ridiculous things you would have to do to unlock it. It wasn't just like, well, either pay us $5 or play 10 multiplayer matches. It's like play 1 million of them or pay us $10. Like, it's just astronomical what they were doing. And the game was so horribly monetized. I think that's the main reason the game ended up being a failure in terms of, you know, having a strong community that keeps playing the game. If you look at Gears 5's player base today, it's incredibly low. And that's surprising considering it's a game that's on Game Pass and anybody can download it at any time. So when you look at Gears 5 as a blueprint, you can see where Halo Infinite may go. Now, will they go that far? Time will tell. We don't know. But the stuff coming out about these shaders certainly makes it seem like that's a direction they could take with it. And with them coming out and saying, well, the multiplayer component of this game will be free to play, which means you don't have to buy Halo Infinite to play the multiplayer. And again, that could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing. I'm not really going to pick a side on that because, you know, as somebody who does occasionally enjoy games like Apex Legends, for example, I think the potential for a free-to-play Halo multiplayer that can keep evolving over time is not necessarily the worst idea. It's how they choose to monetize that is where it could become a very bad idea. And judging from what we have so far, it seems like they might be going down that bad path with the game. So, but the bigger problem now is with this second creative director leaving this project, where does Halo Infinite stand in 2020? Like, what kind of work do they have to do to shove this game out fall of next year? And I'm being optimistic here and saying fall of next year is when the game will come out. But everything about it is a mess. And for me personally, as a massive Halo fan, it's an incredible bummer. I mean, one of my biggest arguments originally for purchasing a Series X at launch was because of Halo Infinite. And now that's not there, you know, on launch day. It certainly poses an interesting question for Halo moving forward. And honestly, I think the easiest way for 343 Industries to fix the Halo problem as it stands right now would be to just listen to the fans. I mean, this is a franchise that Microsoft and 343 Industries, they have to get this next iteration right, because if they don't, if we're being honest here, Halo's a dead franchise then. You had the last one just didn't fire on all cylinders for most people, and if your follow-up that is supposed to be a retooling of Halo, so to speak, also can't deliver, then what's left for this franchise? They've already tried to branch out in different directions with real-time strategy and other things, and while Halo Wars 1 and 2 are decent enough games, they never caught the attention of the mass audience. And again, as a massive Halo fan, Halo isn't what it was 10 years ago. And it's unfortunate to say that, but it's true. So Time will tell, but Halo Infinite right now is a gigantic mess, and when I do my Game of the Year stuff at the end of this year, it might be the biggest mess of 2020 in terms of video games. I could be wrong, but right now it certainly is looking that way. Anyways, I would love to know in the comments below, what do you think about Halo Infinite's current predicaments? Do you think that this game will come out and actually launch okay, or do you think it's going to be a disaster? Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and as always, until next time.